again. My name is Baroness Ann Davenport, and I'm here to mention all the similarities and coincidences between me and METX 210, Twotenny. This may be a little shocking to some people, so if you feel you cannot handle this, please do not watch. Thank you. 210 was the number of the classroom I attended from September 2nd, 1997 to October 31st, 1997. The name of the school was Mary Mapes Dodge School. The classroom grade was 5. I realized this in 2011, 2012, and for the early part of 2013, but never did I realize the other piece of the puzzle until mid-February 2013, when I discovered that METX 210 had turned 5 years of age in late October 1997. The same number as the grade of the classroom, number 210. My teacher was Mr. Drake. As soon as I left Dodge School and the 5th grade classroom, number 210, in late October 1997, my fondness for trains died off completely. Ironically, one of the deans that sparked my rail fan rebirth in 2011 was standing outside just to see METX 210 on the UP West line. I met METX 210 in June 2011 after moving back to the railroad I grew up near, and which paralleled my childhood home and Mary Mapes Dodge School, that railroad being the UP Geneva sub. It was the only F40PH M-2 locomotive on the UP West line at the time. Based on research done on METX 208, 209, and 210, there is a possibility that construction of METX 210 either commenced or culminated at or near the end of October 1992. If this is true, then at the end of October 1992, I was 6 years and 3 months old, 75 months old, when METX 210 was born. The Metro North Commuter Railroad has a P32 AC-DM bearing the number 210. I've noticed that the Metro North Commuter Railroad and Metra seem to mirror one another in certain ways. The MNCR is the only commuter rail agency in the New York City metropolitan area to currently have F40PHs. And one of the 2 east of Hudson Metro North Commuter Railroad routes that use diesel locomotives ends in Waterbury, Connecticut, but the tracks end in Torrington, the town where I've wanted to own businesses since February 1998. And let's pull up Wikipedia article. So this is the Wikipedia article that I found in February 2013 when I started finding some coincidences about METX 210. Waterbury branch. Yeah, I'll mention more on that later. Yep. It would be nice if they just extended up there and just leave it there. Whenever I see random pop-ups of the number 210, I know that an encounter with METX 210 is right around the corner. After an encounter takes place, the number 210 isn't seen again for another 1 to 2 days, and then it starts running rampant again. Lately, I've noticed something. After the last sighting of Twotenny in October 2014, random pop-ups of the number 210 resumed less than 24 hours later. I think this occurred because I decided sometime the month before, in September 2014, to never be afraid of unexpectedly seeing the number 210 because of how strongly connected that number is with my life. It is the only number that has followed me throughout my life, and I am very proud to realize this. I should never fear this number. And random sightings of the number 210 began in spring 2012. I can't remember exactly when, but around the same time. A small mole appeared near the top of my right index finger. And here it is. If you can see it. Yeah, that's it. I researched this online and saw that it means the person will have a successful life. Before getting exposed to numerology on June 3rd, 2013, I equated the number 210 with rise to the top and being highly successful. I can't remember exactly when I thought of these two equations, but it was sometime in late 2002 or early 2013. Based on numerology formulas, I am currently living under a double 210 life. My full name number is 237. And you see there. But I have 20 letters in my name, and my current age is 28, which, by adding 2 plus 8 equals 10. 237 equals 210 by adding the 3 and the 7. So that makes 210 2010. January 31st, 2015 marked the halfway point of my 28th year of age. The most common numbers determined through the long string of coincidences between METX 210 and I are as follows: 3, 6, 8, 12, 21, and 42. 3, 6, 12, and 21 tend to have the biggest influence. I never heard of the term numerology until June 3rd, 2013, when, as I was riding an eastbound pace bus, something told me to pluck out my smartphone and Google 210 numerology. According to numerologists, the number 210 fits my life perfectly, and by looking at the traits, positive and negative, of the numbers 2, 1, and 0, those 3 consecutive numbers match the behavior and personality that I've had for several years now, since late 2008, early 2009. As mentioned earlier, before getting exposed to numerology, I equated the number 210 with the following: rise to the top and being very successful. The reason why is because of how the 3 numbers are situated, like a countdown or something. Using numerology caused me to unearth some coincidences between the number 210 and many of the addresses I call home. It also helps me to unearth a connection between the number 210 and my birth name. 210 can be found in the address of the home where I spent the first 12 years of my life, that being 2565 2565 West Washington Boulevard. Add the 2 5s and you'll get 10. Ignore the 6 and leave the 2 where it is. You get 210. The next address was 3327. Leave out one of the 3s and add the remaining 3 and a 7. You get 10. Put the 2 before the 10 and you get another 210. The next address would be 1620, 1620. 210 is clearly seen in this address just by removing the 6 and switching around the 2 and the 1. In summer 2014, I used numerology or simple gematria to find my full birth name number. The result came out to be 237. You can see 210 and 237 just by adding the 3 and the 7, which equals 10. Leave the 2 and you have 210. Multiply 2 times 3 times 7, or 2 times 21, and you get 42. The same number that METX 210's serial number adds to using numerology. To get to 42 using METX 210's serial number, you add each of the numbers in the locomotive serial number. Right there. One time I added the number which resulted from the order number 34 with the 26, and the end result happened to be 60. Although I did not reduce to single digit, I thought about my old T3 doctrine. T is the 20th letter in the alphabet. 3 T's equals 60. 60 and numerology reduces to 6. And mention again, METX 210 serial number and my birth name number 237 can both translate to 42 using numerology formulas. The number 42 can become 6 and 8 using these same formulas. Speaking of the 6 and 8, 8 is the resulting number of my birth date using numerology to find my life path number. I happen to be a 35-8. Just by looking at the 35, I see that I cannot escape the number 210 because in this case, it becomes the result of 35 times 6. 6 is another dominant number in my life. I noticed a little over a year ago that 666, that's 666, sorry, happens to be present in METX 210's serial number, as you can see there. There is also a big pair of 666s involving me before I knew Twotenny and afterward. I was born in 1986. My childhood home, where I spent the first 12 years of my life, was 2565. When METX 210 was born, I was 6 years old. In 2011, I met METX 210 for the very first time between milepost 3.82 and 3.7 on a UP Geneva sub. In 2012, I created my second and most successful YouTube channel and called it METX 210 after my most favorite locomotive of all. 6 days later, I spotted METX 210, the locomotive, in Hilliard in Aurora. In 2013, I discovered that the similarities between me and METX 210 are for real. After coming from my childhood home and spotting 210 under the Roosevelt Bridge from a westbound number 12 CTA bus. I initially wanted to film trains at Lumber Street, but something told me to go here instead. And that's the picture. That's a picture of like what was taken that day when I caught Twotenny on the Roosevelt Bridge on June 7, 2013. That's the picture of the outbound run. Not only was I 6 years old when METX 210 was born, I was also 75 months old at or around the time. Using numerological date formula, another 12 comes out with 75. Equals 12. Break it down again. It's 2 equals 3. My full birth name number, 237, can also equal 12 and 3. Just by using a numerological formula. 2, 7, 12. The number 210, which METX 210 bears, of course, can also equal 12 and 3. Just by using a numerological formula. Sorry. 2. See? And let's not forget the address of the residence in which I lived at the time METX 210 was built. 2565. Only 2 similar numbers equal 10, and they are 5 and 5. 5 plus 5 equals 10. Put the 2 before the resulting 10, and you get 210. And let's also not forget that I was 6 years old at the time. It was the year 2012 when I first experienced random pop-ups of the number 210. This began to happen sometime in the spring of that year. Also in spring of 2012, and I already mentioned this, I noticed a weird spot near the top of my right index finger. And there it is again. According to superstition, this means that the person will live a successful life. There it is. You see it better. In October 2013, METX 210 turned 21 years old. Twotenny was the only locomotive to show its age by its number. Take away the 0 in 210, and what are you left with? The answer? 21. 21 is also the age at which I reaccepted God into my life. 21 is also the resulting number of adding the numbers of the date on which I readopted my old T3 doctrine. That being September 2nd, 2008. And there you have it. 21, baby. METX 210's serial number equals 42 when using numerology, and my name number also equals 42 by multiplying 2 times 3 times 7. I've noticed that I often see 420 on a clock at home after seeing 210 on a clock at home, but number 420 has yet to come off the clocks. The number 210 has and still does. However, I never see 105, 630, 840, or 1050 on clocks, and that is weird. Thanks to my T3 doctrine, it's like the only astrological sign I share the most traits with is Scorpio. After doing research on METX 210, I saw that there is a possibility that 210 was built in late October 1992. The Scorpio zodiac sign begins in late October, like the 23rd or 24th. I think there's a strong possibility that 210 was built in late October 1992 because METX 208 and 209 were also built in that same month And METX 211 and 212 were built in November 1992. After first exploring numerology using number 210 on June 3rd, 2013, I saw that the only 3 consecutive numbers I share many personality traits with are the numbers 2, 1, and 0. As I said earlier, before being exposed to numerology, I equated the number 210 with rise to the top and being highly successful. Looking over my life, as I look over my life, I say that this number was marked on my life for a reason. Because I am someone who should have been dead a long time ago. Under the age of 10, I swallowed a tack. I swallowed a penny. I fell down a long flight of stairs and was not bruised or seriously injured. I was lead poisoned. I was brutally beaten by my mother on a day when she was extremely angry. An incident that left marks on my skin. Part of a ceiling collapsed on me as I slept. And, believe it or not, I attempted suicide 3 times around the time I turned 9. Between the age of 10 and 20, I hit my head against a dresser, suffered a fever of 105 degrees or above that, received death threats in high school, and attempted suicide once. Between 21 and now, I often contemplated suicide. Attempted suicide for the last time in May 2009. Experienced 2 episodes in which severe back pain set me back. One required a trip to the ER. And became homeless in April 2011. What's surprising is the year 2010. Listen to this. The year 2010 was the year I hit rock bottom in my life. No matter how hard I tried to get a job, it just didn't work. Nothing. I did not even get to an interview or anything. But 2009 was the last year when I was really had a good job. Everything just collapsed. In 2010, hit rock bottom, but hey, I'll speak more on this in a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to read a timeline of my life with when it comes to the connections to me, METX 210, the number 210, and the T3 doctrine that I created when I was little. This is going to be a little tough. Okay. July 31st, 1986. I am born. Although not at home, the home I would call mine at this time was 2565 West Washington Boulevard. The number 210 can be found in the address by adding the 5s and placing the 2 in front of the resulting 10. The 6 stands alone. There were several railroads within walking distance, including the UP Geneva sub. I was a huge fan of trains, thanks to this. October 1992. The locomotive METX 210 was built at the EMD plant in LaGrange, McCook, Illinois. At the time, I was 6 years old, but 6 years and 3 months old, or around that. That translates to 75 months. And look at the number of coincidences here with 75. I did this earlier. METX 210. Look at that. Then there's 2 D's right here. That makes a 6. Then it happened in 1992 when Twotenny was born. That equaled 21. That's another Dre. In August 1995, after 3 unsuccessful suicide attempts stemmed from a lot of hardships which occurred in my home and the world I live in, along with the discoveries of how the world I live in really is, I created my very own world peace theory, known as TTT, Triple T, or T3. That is also known as the train theory. It was modeled after watching the freight and Metra trains pass my home along the UP Geneva and Rockwell subs. The main theme of the self-made doctrine that only I can follow is humans are the rail cars of a train known as human society. But what I saw when it came to trains at the time I created T3 was a united world. I don't recall calling this T3, not until I readopted it on September 2nd, 2008. But something to take note of here is that METX 210 was approaching its 3rd year of existence at this point in time. Not long after creating T3, my life took a turn for the better. Although I often keep my T3 a hush-hush thing, it is a full-time lifestyle for me, and I live it 24/7, 365 or 366, but no one notices. Not only because it's kept under wraps, but because it's basically unnoticeable. There are many parts to T3, all modeled after watching the trains which parallel my home, which was the original Triple T, or connected to the parts which resulted from that. That part I call revised Triple T. T3 is wholly responsible for my way of thinking and beliefs, along with my personality and behavior. T3 may be wholly responsible for this, but after I became exposed to numerology in early June 2013, the other thing being responsible are the characteristics of the numbers making up the number 210 in my birth name. But I was born first, so 237, my full name number, appeared first. I carry some of the traits of the numbers 3 and 7 as well, according to numerology, of course. But the 2, 1, and 0 are the 3 consecutive numbers of whose characteristics I take after. But the more I think about it, those behaviors and attitudes did not present themselves until after T3's creation in late August 1995. Although it took a lot longer for T3 to fully manifest itself in my life again after its readoption when compared to when I created it, I often said and felt, and I still feel, that I'm living a deja vu life based on my general attitude and behavior experienced shortly after creating Triple T in 1995. And that was a carefree, cool, laid-back, happy attitude. On September 2nd, 1997, I began 5th grade in room number 210 at Mary Mapes Dodge School, located just steps from my home and on the exact same side of the street. My teacher's name was Mr. Drake. October 31st, 1997. I spent my final day in room number 210 at Mary Mapes Dodge School. It would be the last time I attended school until November 2002. At the very same time I left Dodge School. It's possible that METX 210 turned 5 years old, the same number as the grade of the classroom number 210 at Dodge. December 11th, 1998. An eviction occurs at the home I spent the first 12 years of my life in, thanks to some bullshit my mother did. Now look at the coincidences here. 12 and 12. 2 more instances in which the number resulting from 2 plus 10 occurs. The last full day we spent living here was, coincidentally, 12/10/98. Another 210 is seen in this date. Also, if you add the 12, 10, and 98 and use the numerology formula, you get 12. And here it is. This is what I'm talking about. If you can see. There it is. Numerology formula. Comes down to 12. January 8th, 2002. After getting evicted from 3327 thanks to some more stupid bullshit done by my mother, I drew away my triple T doctrine along with my faith and belief in God. October 31st, 2002. My next address for the following 3 years will be 1620. The number 210 is clearly seen in this address, plus another 6. June 2004. My grandmother, who lived with me and my mother in the house with 2565 and the apartment at 3327 until April 2001, passed away. The news deeply devastated me because we were so close. My grandmother was the only person who saw huge potential in me when I was a little girl and as I grew older. She always spoke highly of me and my intelligence. My mother, on the other hand, always downed me or went against what my grandmother, her mother, said. January 2007. My next address for the next 7 months would be 20139. The number 210 is clearly seen in this address, and so is 12 by adding the 3 and 9. August 2007. I seek to reaccept God in my life after experiencing a lot of hardship, stress, depression, and suicidal thoughts. And a suicide attempt took place like 2 months before that, just about. I was 21 at the time. September 2nd, 2008. After a long bout of intense mental debating on whether or not I should reaccept my old triple T, thanks to creating some short-lived anarchistic doctrine that had a few ties to it a few months back, I decided to readopt T3. This turned out to be another great decision. Unlike after T3's creation in August 1995, I didn't experience a lot of happiness after I readopted it until January 2009. Now, the residence I called mine at the time I readopted T3 was located on 61st Street, just steps from the tracks of the Metra Southwest service line, the line that METX 210 is currently assigned to. Speaking of being near the Southwest service line, in January 2009, I moved to a place on 69th Street, and every day until April 2011, I walked to the Thurgood Marshall branch of the Chicago Public Library. It's located at 75th and Racine, practically adjacent to those tracks. Pay attention to this one, this is kind of big. December 11, 2010. As I slept, I saw in a dream what appeared to be Jesus standing by my bed. He touched me on the forehead, and then I saw a vision of my late grandmother in heaven. I woke up crying. Around this same time, METX 210 and 185 were the two F40 PHM-2s running around on the Metra UP lines. 185 later dropped out, leaving METX 210 behind. May 4th, 2011, I moved into an apartment building on the west side of Chicago. It is located next to the UP Geneva sub, the same railroad I grew up by, the same railroad which inspired my T3 doctrine. And this happened after the place I was living in, near 71st Street on the south side of Chicago, was found to be condemned. And yeah, I became homeless in April 2011. Yeah, it was tough. But regardless of how tough things were in 2010, and when I became homeless in late April 2011, I did not draw away my T3, and I did not draw away my faith and belief in God. And I strongly believe that because I did that, because I stood my ground, here comes a very beautiful present, a very beautiful reward. June 2011. While standing outside in my place, I saw an F40 PHM-2 locomotive pushing an inbound UP West Line train through the Kedzie Metra station. The words I uttered when I first saw it was, "Oh my gosh, that locomotive is so cute in the front." It was the only F40 PHM-2 on the UP West at the time, and it was METX 210. Just about every single day, I would go outside to watch the Metra trains, but also to see this odd locomotive again. I saw 210 dozens of times on the UP West between then and mid-December 2011. And this is big right here. December 19th, 2011. I see METX 210 on the UP West line for the final time as it pushed an inbound train towards the Kedzie station. When this occurred, I was in a relationship with a guy who was everything I ever wanted. Being so into him took my mind off of METX 210 and my T3 as well. When I realized METX 210 was gone, I went online to see if anyone may have seen it anywhere. I searched every railfan-oriented site but came up empty. In mid-February 2012, that asshole broke out with me, completely breaking my heart and destroying my emotions. I was devastated. The only thing that kept me happy during this horrific ordeal were trains and trains only. And then I remembered something. I wasn't following my T3 doctrine while with this bastard, and neither was I so concerned about METX 210. Right before he dumped me, I had a feeling inside me that something was missing. The reason I'm bringing this up is because it's going to prove interesting later on in this video, because at this point in my life, I thought showing of affection like holding hands, kissing and cuddling and all that were signs of a real relationship, which is why I dumped his friend who I was dating before in November 2011. Because he showed me no signs of affection like a real boyfriend should. I was so wrong. A relationship isn't about showing displays of affection, foreplay, and sex. It's all about being with someone who makes you happy and appreciates your company. What I'm looking for in a relationship is a lot in common, much free time and privacy, tons of happiness with the one I'm in a relationship with, honesty, respect, and trust. All of that other shit like sex and making out is nowhere near as important to me anymore. And I'll mention why this is such a big deal and what it has to do with METX 210 and I later on in the video. Well, March 21st, 2012. A random rail fanning visit to the area of Roosevelt and Canal leads to an unexpected encounter with METX 210. It would be the first time I see 210 since mid-December 2011 when it was still on the UP West line. May 17th, 2012. I visit Roosevelt and Canal again and spot METX 210 once again. When I saw the locomotive, I said to myself, "There goes my baby." My baby would be the first pet name I give the locomotive. Listen to this. Now, shortly after this encounter, I began to notice random sightings of the number 210, along with a weird mole on my right index finger. June 3rd, 2012. After looking at past tweets on LiveJournal of METX 210 and several hours of debating on whether or not to create another YouTube account, one that will be dedicated to train videos, I decided to go ahead and create the METX 210 account on YouTube. June 9th, 2002. 6 days after creating the METX 210 channel, I spot METX 210, the locomotive, sitting in Hilliard in Aurora. September 29th, 2002. I moved back to the 1620 residence. This is where I currently reside. October 24th, 2012. Less than a month after moving back to the address 1620, I filmed METX 210 for the very first time at Brookfield Station on the BNSF line. Not once, but twice. And there's my fist pump. December 24th, 2012. Although I did not film it, I caught 210 pushing an inbound Southwest Service Line train while riding an outbound Southwest Service Line train to Orland Park to drop off Christmas presents. Now, this is when I really began to have plans of owning the locomotive. January 16, 2013. After debating on whether to go to either Brookfield or Melrose Park for rail fanning, I decided to go to Brookfield, and rightfully so. Approximately 1 minute after I stepped off a 331 Pace bus at the Brookfield station, along came 210 with his roaring 645. I would catch 210 2 more times at the station. Like the last 4 encounters with Twotenny, I experienced a considerable amount of happiness from seeing the one locomotive I call my baby. When I returned home, I uploaded the full video of the 3 trips 210 made to Brookfield and titled it 210 Returns 3 times. January 18, 2013. 210 goes through Brookfield, but just once this time. Once again, I uploaded the video on the very same day we bumped heads and titled it We Meet Again. I liked the video. It was the very first time. It was the very first time that I liked any of my own videos. The next day, someone posted a comment asking me, what's so special about METX 210? I replied by mentioning that my fascination began when I first saw METX 210 after I moved back to the UP Geneva sub in spring 2011. Shortly after this, I began to think, like, really, why am I so obsessed with this locomotive? About a couple days later, I thought of my fondness as being irrational, thanks to all the other things I was obsessed with in the past that were found to be false and irrational and useless. And I did try to let go of METX 210 based on this, but not long after I tried to, something told me to don't even think about it. I chose to be obedient and stand my ground, and it turned out to be the best decision. On February 1st, 2013, now I experienced negative feelings, including a few shed tears, when one of my subscribers on YouTube broke the news that 210 may be retired and scrapped. So that turned out to be a false rumor.
Your attention, please. The next Metra train approaching.
On February 11, 2013, METX 210 goes through Brookfield once with an outbound train. And this happened on the exact same day the I Love METX 210 shirt and mouse pad I customized through Vista print arrived to my place of residence. And there they are. On February 26, 2013. This happened not long after midnight. Not choosing to stop being fond of METX 210 leads to the first of a slew of coincidences. That being my discovery that the locomotive was 5 years old when I left 5th grade classroom number 210 at Mary Mapes Dodge School in late October 1997. This led me to further research the build date of METX 210. And I came up empty, but came to a conclusion that building of 210 either began or culminated around the end of November 1992. I thought of the astrological sign Scorpio, which occurs around that time period, and I thought, oh my gosh, 210 may be a Scorpio. That prompted me to think of my old Triple T doctrine, which has a lot of ties to the Scorpio zodiac sign, thanks to the behavior I automatically demonstrate while under it. I am, always have, and always will be the only follower of T3. So, yeah. Another thing that thinking of T3 led me to was my discovery of what Torrington, Connecticut, the town I wanted to start and own several businesses, when I researched the town for the very first time, about 2 weeks after I readopted it, the T3 that is. That led me to research the Metro North's Waterbury branch, since it is the only commuter rail line that comes close to Torrington. I saw that the tracks originally ended, and still do end, in downtown Torrington. As soon as I saw that, I softly said to myself, Twotenny, I think you and I may have a future together. The only reason why the Metro North interests me is because I want to move to Northwest Connecticut in about 10 years to start those businesses and also to be a railroader. Throughout 2012, I was pushed by friends to apply for a job at Metra after first bringing up my desires to possibly work for Metro North. I made up my mind on September 29, 2012, and here I am, pursuing a railroad job to work for Metra, and then take my experience to the Metro North. One thing I must mention when I saw Twotenny's serial number is that at this time in my life, we both shared the number 26. I was 26 years old, and Twotenny had 26 at the end of its serial number. March 29, 2013. For the first time in a year, I catch METX 210 coming to a stop at a station with a train. It happened at Brookfield as I was chatting with a guy who was trying to get to Westmont. He saw me filming the trains and asked me what was I filming. I told him that I have a YouTube channel named after locomotive METX 210. Less than 2 minutes after I told him the name of my YouTube channel, an inbound train pulled into Brookfield, and pushing it from the back was METX 210. Twotenny came back, heading outbound. I'll never forget this. I'll never forget it. June 3rd, 2013. While riding on an eastbound Pace bus, something told me to use my smartphone to Google the words 210 numerology. I never heard of numerology before, but I decided to look up these two words. It turned out to be an awesome decision because when I discovered that what 210 means in numerology, the connections to my present day behavior were spot on. Just as spot on with my present day behavior and my life overall are many of the attributes of the numbers 2, 1, and 0. Although I share attributes with each of the numbers between 0 and 9, 2, 1, and 0 are the only 3 consecutive numbers which I share the most attributes. My T3 can be blamed for that because it is wholly responsible for my personality, behavior, attitude, and beliefs. This leads to a connection between my T3 and the number 210, but they can also be connected using numerology. On June 7, 2013, I visit my childhood home, 2565, and Mary Mapes Dodge School, where I attended 5th grade, in classroom number 210 when METX 210 was nearing its 5th year in existence. I also plan to do some rail fanning at the Lumber Street crossing that day. After getting footage of my home in Dodge School, I made the journey to Lumber Street. Traffic was bad in the area of Lake and Roosevelt along State Street due to an accident, which delayed the bus I wanted to take to Lumber Street, or near it rather. I didn't want to miss any trains, so I decided to get off at Roosevelt and take a bus to Roosevelt and Canal and rail fan there instead. Something told me to go there anyway, and I obliged. Although the traffic jam was just as bad on Roosevelt as it was on State Street, I didn't miss any trains. But as soon as my bus reached the Metra side of the Roosevelt Bridge, I looked down, saw a locomotive sitting with its train, and it happened to be METX 210. I was anxious to get off the bus, and when I did, 210 was pushing its train into Union Station. I waited on the bridge for 210 to come back, and when it did, I held back tears and pumped my fists as the locomotive surrounded me with its diesel exhaust. That's a picture of that incident. And the screaming thoughts, "This is for real! This is for real!" went through my head. I may have believed the coincidences when I first discovered them on February 26, 2013, but I was a little skeptical. July 11th and 26, 2013, I prayed almost every night to God, asking Him to allow me to see METX 210 one last time before my 27th birthday, because we shared the number 26. Also, every night between 11th and 22nd, I hugged my I Love METX 210 mouse pad before falling asleep, after a rumor went out that 210 was transferred to the Milwaukee district lines, along with 209, 211, and 212, in exchange for 401, 402, 403, 404, and 405, which were put back on the BNSF line. This turned out to be a false rumor. There was no locomotive swapping. Nevertheless, it made me eager to see 210 once more before I turned 27. And almost every night between the 11th and 26th, I dreamed of Twotenny. On July 26, 2013, I decided to make the trek to Wrightwood Station, located at 79th and Kedzie, on Chicago's far southwest side, for rail fanning, since I haven't been there for the peon rush since September 2012. The journey was long thanks to road construction along Kedzie, but as with the visit to Roosevelt and Canal the month before, I did not miss any trains. I'm rail fanning, minding my own business, and along comes METX 210 with the Southwest Service Line train that terminates on 153rd Street. I was so shocked to see 210 because I wasn't expecting to see a locomotive at all. So shocked that chills went up and down my spine and my heart nearly stopped. I nearly cried. When 210's horn sounded as it approached Ashburn, the tears came out. 210 came back 2 additional times, making it 3 times I saw a locomotive on a day that had 3 26s. I was 26 years old. METX 210 has 26 in its serial number, and I unexpectedly caught the locomotive 3 times on July 26. My prayers were answered. With these 2 unexpected encounters, and the high amount of bliss and the shedding of tears I experienced, my love for Twotenny grew, and I automatically grew closer to the locomotive. December 2013. So last time I saw Twotenny was on September 6th. I began to worry about the locomotive since I didn't see it anywhere within BNSF Southwest Service Line territory at all during the month of October. This made me shed tears. I experienced a ton of burning emotions during these 2 months. It literally felt as if I had no heart inside of me. I often cried whenever I saw pictures of Twotenny. And I caught myself saying in my sleep, "Where's Twotenny? Where's Twotenny? Twotenny, come back." Yes, I literally woke myself up halfway by repeatedly saying those phrases during my sleep. I did not get random pop-ups of the number 210 very often, which is something that clearly indicates an approaching encounter with METX 210. Also, several songs that were perfect for this trying time automatically popped into my head, including songs I hate with a passion, like Mariah Carey's songs. The following lyrics played in my head whenever visions or thoughts of Twotenny popped in my head, because it was so appropriate for this time. Like, when you left, I lost a part of me. It is so hard to believe. Come back to Twotenny, please, because we belong together. And all I want for Christmas is you, Twotenny. And then more lyrics that played in my head at this time were, "I'm lost without you. can't help myself. Yeah, and then thankfully 2 songs I liked played in my head during this period of emptiness. And that was like, yeah, when can I see you again? And when can my heart beat once again? And yeah, all of these songs were appropriate for the scenario because I was worried about METX 210's whereabouts, and the emotions I experienced were emptiness, petrification, like my heart wasn't inside me, like something was missing from my life. I was eager to see Twotenny again. Early in December, something told me something shocking will happen when METX 210 returns. Listen to this carefully. That same something that gave me this message was that same little voice that told me to go to Roosevelt and Canal instead of Lumber Street on June 7th. It was the same little voice that told me to research 210 numerology on June 3rd while I was on the bus. The message I received in early 2013 was this, and I found it so weird. When METX 210 returns, you will declare yourself done with men. I was wondering, like, why? I'm a human being. That's a soulless locomotive. And shortly afterward, random pop-ups of the number 210 resumed, indicating that I will soon see METX 210. When this happened, my negative feelings and emotions began to just fade away. On December 24, 2013, while taking Christmas presents to friends in Orland Park via an outbound Southwest Service Lane train, an inbound Southwest Service Lane train came along, and pushing it was METX 210. The first thought that popped into my mind was, it can't be who I think it was. I reviewed the video clip on my camcorder to see that the locomotive was indeed Twotenny. A huge smile appeared on my face, and I immediately felt whole again. Throughout the day on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, I had a big smile on my face just from seeing METX 210 once again. On December 26, 2013, the little voice that told me I would be through with men after 210 returns proved itself correct. Think back to what happened when my last ex dumped me in February 2012. It caused me to wake up and see what's truly important when it comes to a relationship. Those things being what I am primarily looking for out of a relationship. I thought of how I feel and the emotions I experience whenever I see METX 210 and the things we have in common. I thought of these things for a very long time. And then I came to a final decision. There are things I can't get from METX 210 that I can only get from a man or another woman. And there are things I can get from METX 210 that I can't and won't get from a man, thanks to how phony so many people are these days. The things I get from Twotenny are the primary and most important things I'm looking to get out of a relationship, and I got them. Never have I been so happy with something in my entire life. And the odds are good that I'll never again be as happy with something. On December 26, 2013, I decided to begin wearing a gold-plated cubic zirconia engagement ring on my left finger to symbolize how happy I am with my perfect ideal relationship with Twotenny. Later that night, I made a Word document using OpenOffice and filled it with tweets I posted relating to the fake proposal. I titled it, "Declaring My Happy Ending." Never did I expect to be so close to a locomotive. Never did I expect a locomotive to have so many ties to my life. METX 210 and I are truly a very unexpected, very unconventional match made in heaven. And for those who want to see it, this is my CZ engagement ring right here. that I always wear. I never leave the house without putting this on. There it is. Gold-plated CZ engagement ring. Okay. So May 8th, 2014. METX 210 breaks down at Wrightwood, and I witnessed everything. It's before my eyes. I stayed at the station until 210 was found to be okay. I was not going to leave until this had been confirmed. If I stayed there all night, that would have been fine with me. I was only concerned about Twottenny's well-being. As 210's engine ran in Notch 8 as it set at Wrightwood, I prayed and nearly cried. Very often did the statement, "Come on, Twottenny, I love you," go through my head. 210 and 116 finally left Wrightwood, but the emotional damage had been done. A high level of anxiety overwhelmed me on the ride home. I kept myself isolated from people. I didn't want to be bothered with anyone. My only concerns were Twottenny's well-being. So much that I didn't care if my breasts slipped out of the low-cut shirt I wore that day. And they almost did as I rode a Forest Park bound CTA Blue Line L train. And when I got home, I displayed some serious anger issues after a relative, a phony relative to be exact, laughed when I told her that 210 broke down, including going to my room, slamming my door, and then smacking an empty water bottle off a table and onto the floor. I even posted angry tweets on Twitter. Look at this. That was the first one. I have 7 words for every heartless MF who refuses to understand why METX 210 means so much to me. That was supposed to say, and there are 7 words. Those same people always wonder why things yeah. Yeah, well, that's what happened. That's the stuff I posted. And the following day, I learned a bad truth about Twotenny after a Metra engineer responded to my post about the breakdown at Wrightwood on railroad.net. Never did it ever cross my mind that METX 210 was such a problematic locomotive. This discovery brought added sadness to my life. And earlier in the week, I got word of the loss of the first of 4 friends in 2004, so this is very hard. I decided to do a second and final checkup on Twotenny on May 29, 2014 to see how it was doing after the breakdown. This also happened to be my late grandmother's 86th birthday. Just 8 minutes after I arrived at the Roosevelt Bridge, METX 210 hit me in the face with hot exhaust as it pushed its train towards Union Station all alone. When 210 came back heading outbound, a duel with 197 occurred, and also a message from that little voice again. The message was that something very big is around the corner. 3 days later, June 1st, 2014, at 2:10 p.m., I declared that gold-plated CZ engagement ring I wear to symbolize my ideal relationship, which I have with 210, to now be a marriage ring. Me and 210 are not literally married, so stop. Don't even think about it. So at it never will happen. So at 2:10 p.m. on June 1st, 2014, people could stop saying I am engaged to METX 210 and start saying I am now married to METX 210. The truth is, I am not actually married to METX 210 and never will be for 3 reasons. 1, I can't see myself marrying a locomotive under any circumstance. I'm sorry. 2, I'm not trying to get into any legal garbage. And 3, I don't believe in marriage of any kind whatsoever. July 23rd, 2014. I used the Metra, an ancient form of numerology, to determine the number of my full name by adding the numbers of the corresponding letters. Example given are the initials of my first, middle, and last name, BAD. They translate to 2, 1, and 4. The number of my full name is found to be 237. So let's use some numerology formulas here. There you have it, 237. There you have it, another 12. 12. Another 3 occurs. But look at this. Add the 3 and 7. Isolate the 2. Put the 2 in front of the resulting 10. What do you get? The number 210. So you can practically say, I was born with the number 210 marked on my life. That's not all. 10 and 20, or 1020, which flipped around becomes 2010. A closely related number to 210 can also be found in another number I had at birth or around it just by using numerology, that being my social security number. 1020 is closely related to 12, which results in adding 2 plus 10 and 210. Earlier in 2014, I discovered the 210 in the address of my childhood home, 2565. Isolate the 6, and it can be found by using the 2, 5, and 5. Add the 5s. Put the 2 in front of the resulting 10, and you will get the number 210. Please do not forget, I was 6 years old and residing at the 2565 address when METX 210 was born at EMD LaGrange in October 1990. September 19, 2014. After giving up hope on seeing Twotenny during a maiden visit to 87th and Pulaski, the locomotive came through with the very last outbound Southwest Service Line train of the PM rush period. I immediately pumped my fist as my eyes teared up. I needed this after getting word of the death of a third friend earlier in the week. My third friend passed on Labor Day, September 1st. Ironically, that's the exact same day I rode a Milwaukee District West Line train to and from Franklin Park with METX 120 on point. The second friend passed Friday, June 6th, exactly 1 year after I came to the realization that the ties between METX 210 and I were true. And the next day after I saw 210 at 87th and Pulaski, a phony friend was removed from my life. 6 days later, September 25th, 2014, as I was working on a Sudoku puzzle in a Sudoku book while riding an inbound Blue Line train, I couldn't fill out one line containing the pre-written numbers 2 and 1. Something was holding me back from writing the number 3 in that box. Here it is. This is it. As soon as I realized this, the feelings of numbness and petrification overwhelmed me. These were the signs that a ghost went through me. Later that night, I dreamed that I received a visit from a ghost, and the message it had for me was, something terrible is going to happen to someone who recently wronged me. The only person I could think of was the phony friend I removed from my life on September 20th, a day after catching METX 210 at 87th and Pulaski. On October 8th, that same phony friend sent me a friend request on Facebook. What did I do? I immediately deleted it and blocked her. On that very same day, I unexpectedly boarded a pace bus with the number 210 on the bottom left of its windshield. The following day, October 9th, I had METX 210 leading 199 and the Southwest Service Line train I rode from 143rd to Wrightwood. And this would be the start of seeing Twotenny several times during the month it turned 22 years old, including 4 times on October 20th, 1020. Speaking of the number 22, look at the page number where that Sudoku puzzle with the pre-written 2 and 1 can be found. And this is it, once again. Isn't that ironic? Oh, a little over a week after meeting METX 210 4 times, on October 20th, I lost my 4th and final friend of 2014. These 4 losses were tough to get over, but about 1.5 weeks before Christmas, I decided to move on after something told me, that little voice again, that they are watching me. If anyone thinks METX 210 is a demonic engine, you are out of your freaking mind. And if you think the number 210 is a devil number, once again, you are out of your freaking mind. You are dealing with fallacious religion and not the real God and Satan. Enough said. December 20th, 2014. Another false rumor about Twotenny being retired is thrown at me. This time on my Facebook page. How much do I love METX 210? How close am I to METX 210? How much does METX 210 mean to me? This much. When this was mentioned, I thought my heart was going to explode. Later that day, I broke down sobbing. 4 times did I do this. That's not all. Suicidal thoughts soon followed. Yes, I literally had thoughts to end it all after receiving word that Twotenny may be killed off. If I lose Twotenny, what would be the point of living anymore? With METX 210 in my life, I strongly feel as if my life's complete. Like nothing else is needed to make it any more whole. Twotenny is my life. Twotenny is my happiness. Twotenny is my heart. Twotenny is everything to me. Twotenny means the world to me. And I've never been so close to something in my entire life. I've never felt so one with something in my entire life. I never felt so lost, so empty without something in my entire life. The death of METX 210 will be the death of me. These are my actual feelings. Oh. Okay, so let me do this, please. These are my actual feelings. But I found out a few days later that this was once again a hoax. More than likely, METX 210 will be rebuilt. Not retired. But still, regardless, for anyone to just bring that up, I mean, it just hurts. It really hurts. If you do not know if something is a truth, do not fucking bring it up. Don't fucking bring it up, please. Because this is hurtful. I mean, That really hurt me. It really did. Okay, moving on. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I just go. December 24th, 2014. I woke up early to finish wrapping Christmas presents, and not long after I completed the task, I put the presents in a large bag and headed to Wrightwood to take Southwest Service train number 807 to Orland Park to drop off the gifts. I arrived at the station at 7:25 a.m. and something told me to arrive early. It was that little voice again, and I did. Great decision, because 30 minutes later, METX 210 arrived with train 810. I was happy to see Twotenny for the third Christmas Eve in a row. 210 returned with train 807, a thought that came true, because in the days leading up to this encounter, I envisioned Twotenny leading a train I ride to drop off presents on Christmas Eve in a Santa-like theme. Like, I'm Santa, the train I'm riding is my sleigh, and METX 210 is my reindeer. That thought came true, but METX 210 and I were in Santa and reindeer. Having Twotenny lead a train that I'm riding to drop off Christmas presents, and as the only engine on point, brought me to tears after I made it home. Happy tears. I cried 3 times because it meant so much to me. The third episode occurring as I composed the description for the video I uploaded in the overnight hours on Christmas Day, titled My Greatest Christmas Present Ever, Riding with My Little Reindeer. Wrightwood is now a place of awesome memories involving me and Twotenny, along with Kedzie and Brookfield. METX 210 became my greatest birthday present here in 2013, and now my greatest Christmas present in 2014. January 20th, 2015. While rail fanning with 2 younger rail fans, I got word that METX 210 was near the Roosevelt Bridge. When we looked for a locomotive, all we saw were its red marker lights as it entered the tunnel leading to Union Station. I had a feeling that 210 would be on the 240 Southwest Service Line train, but the guys I were with went to Canal and Kinsey to film the Empire Builder. Later on, I made the trek back to the Roosevelt Bridge to see if I was right about Twotenny being on a 240 train, because it would approach Union Station at around 5:10 p.m. I arrived at 4:58 p.m. and at 5:03 p.m. an inbound Southwest Service Line train approached. I pulled out the camera to film it. Pushing the train from the back was METX 210, alright. I was spot on. 5:20 came, and leading the train was Twotenny. If you think this is special, wait until you hear this. Throughout the day, from the moment I woke up until I exit an outbound CTA Green Line train that I took to Roosevelt to see Twotenny, I had minor pain in my left foot from accidentally kicking the wall next to my bed as I slept the night before. But as I walked to the Roosevelt Bridge to see METX 210, and after I saw the locomotive, the pain was totally non-existent. I was surprised. After catching Twotenny on the outbound run, I walked back to the Roosevelt CTA station to take a Green Line train to Clinton so I could board the next outbound UP West Line train that would stop at Melrose. When that Green Line train arrived, I was surprised to see it have number 012 as its run number. That is the number 210 backwards. I know CTA Green Line uses double digits for its train run numbers, but couldn't something else have been used, such as number 011 or number 018? Apparently not. Adding another fact for you to think of is this. That train was delayed. maybe it was intended for me to catch. Well, that concludes the Twotenny I Part 3 video. And I hope the things I mentioned here will give you a much better understanding of why this little locomotive means so much to me. But before I go, I want to really mention something. I want to mention something because I know for a fact that it must mean that me and METX 210 were, you know, meant to be. Okay. So, here's this video I posted in December titled My First December Weekend Pass, right? Now, I mentioned that this right here, the following day commenced of a hair-pulling turn of events. A so-called friend hurt my feelings once again by bad-mouthing METX 210 like he always does, and that really set me off. So much that I ignored his phone calls and text messages and stayed angry. For those who don't know why this would affect me so much, I'll mention why in a later video. Well, this later video is here. I'm going to mention why. I mean, the number 210 was meant to be in my life. Well, it was marked on my life. METX 210 was meant to be in my life, and if it wasn't for Twotenny, I would know so many things surrounding my life. I would not, if it was not for Twotenny. And also another thing, this locomotive just makes me so happy. I do not experience the same amount of happiness with anything or anyone else in the entire world. Just Twotenny. I mean, what I experienced here with this locomotive is just unbelievable. And one thing I need to point out is with the guy who hurt my feelings that day, look what has happened to him ever since. He's almost died twice. His grandmother died a day or two before Christmas, and he almost got fired from his job twice. And also, he got extremely sick from drinking vodka on New Year's Eve. So what does that tell you? Hey, better be careful what you say out there. Well, that wraps up this video. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.